Some people in the comments have mentioned that you need to just come off the clutch quickly when you're moving off. This is not going to work in a space like this. So this is quite a tight parking space here. And if I'm trying to come out of here without hitting this car or without crashing into those cars on that side, I'll need to use my clutch control really carefully. So once I do my checks, so I'm not going to bring my clutch up all the way. I'm going to actually play around with it just around the biting point. So up a tiny bit and then down a bit, up a tiny bit and then down a bit. Yeah, just keep playing with it like that. That way my car doesn't go zooming into this car or across the road and crashing into these cars. Once I'm here though, once I'm in the middle of the road, then I can start easing off the clutch, and now I'm moving. So somebody said, how do you know when to change gears without looking at the rev meter, or if your car hasn't got a rev meter? If you got a speedometer, most cars are going to be 0 miles an hour to 10 miles an hour. It's going to be first gear, and then 10 to 20 is going to be second gear, 20 to 30 third gear, and so forth. But another way you can tell is once you drive your car for quite a while, you just know, like now I'm not looking at the speed or the rev meter, but I can tell that it's time for me to change into second gear. Just by listening to the engine, you can hear it. If it's straining, then you know it's going to be time for you to change. Or if it's kind of really low, you know it's time for you to, when it's straining and making quite a lot of noise, it's time for you to gear up. If it's really quiet and rumbly, you know it's time for you to gear down into a lower gear. Somebody asked, how can you keep the speed limit the same? They keep going up and they keep going above and below the speed limit. And this is done by listening to the engine. You can actually listen to the engine. If you imagine the engine is like a musical instrument, and at a certain speed it will make it would play a certain note. So like right now I'm in second gear, and after driving this car for a while, I know that this note is 20 miles an hour. If it goes lower than that, there's a strong chance I'm going lower than 20 miles an hour. Then if I bring it back to that same note again, back to 20 miles an hour. If it goes a bit higher than that, then there's a chance I'm going over the speed limit. So this is how a lot of driving instructors, and I'm guessing examiners as well, they will know you're going a bit over the speed limit just by listening, but they'll also check to confirm. So sometimes you might see an examiner leaning over to see what your speed is, because they would have heard the change in the note, and then that way you can tell that the speed is going a bit higher or it's going a bit too low. But the best way to check your speed is obviously by checking the speedometer, but you don't want to be checking that too much. So the best way to check it, have a quick glance at it, then look forward again, quick glance, look forward again. If you're going too slow, don't then slam on your gas and try to go too fast. Just increase your speed gradually so it's done in a safe way. Or if you're going too fast, just ease off the gas and maybe brake gently as well. What you don't want to be doing is slamming your brake too hard because you've realized you're going like 1 mile an hour over the speed limit. Don't do it like that. Just ease off the gas and then brake gently. That way your speed is going to decrease. So in some cars like mine, turning in second gear on most roads can be quite tricky because it's going to start shaking if you do the right speed. So I'll show you here. But what you can do is sometimes press the clutch down a little bit, so it's going to start shaking. I'll press the clutch down a bit in second gear. That way it kind of smooths it out, and then once I've made the turn, I can come off the clutch again. So that's not coasting there, it's just smoothing the car out so that it doesn't stall halfway through the turn or start shaking violently. If it's really sharp on the turn, instead of putting the clutch down a bit, you can also put it into first gear, and I'll show you what I mean by that. So like here, to stay on my side, it's going to be quite sharp, so I'll get into first gear and then bring the clutch up smoothly before I make the turn. So that way first gear is engaged before the turn, and that way it's not going to be struggling around the corner as it would do if it was in second gear. Somebody asked, how do you move off on a hill like this on traffic lights without rolling back? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to turn off the hill assist and show you what happens if you don't do it properly. So if you don't do it properly, you see your car's going to roll back straight away because it's a really steep hill. So what you can do, if you don't want to use the handbrake technique, you can use your foot brake. So bring your clutch to the biting point while your foot's still on the brake, and then when it goes to green, you'd come off the brake and then go into the gas, and then smoothly bring the clutch up while adding more gas. And then once you've got more speed, you can get into second gear. So that's one way of doing it without using the handbrake. So we're on another hill right now and the traffic light is red again. This time I'm going to show you how to do it with the handbrake technique instead of just using your foot brake. So I've got my handbrake on already. I'm going to go into first gear and then I'm going to get my biting point so I can see the car raising a little bit. That's how I know I've got enough. Add a bit of gas now and keeping my clutch still as I'm doing that, and then raising it up slowly while adding more gas. Then once I've got enough speed, and then come off the gas, clutch down into second gear.